Mr. Hari Gopalan, the chairman of Sunbeam Schools, Ms. Tanga Prakash, the correspondent of the schools, respected Honorable District Judge Dr. M.P. Subramaniam, Mr. Ravi Shankar, President of the Parent Teachers Association, dignitaries on the dais, faculty members, Mr. J.V. Nathan and Mr. Karunagaran, my friends, parents, and my dear young friends who are studying in this school. I am very happy that I could participate in the annual day function of Sunbeam Schools. I have heard a lot about this institution through Mr. Karunagaran, but I could experience the truth only today. When I entered into the premises, I felt as though I have entered into a university with tremendous infrastructure and a vast playground with so many facilities. The human beings have to be always analyzed with respect to their evolution. If you cannot find answers for their behaviors, you have to go back to their ancestors like chimpanzees and then come to the conclusion about the present state of affairs. When you go to a zoo, you will find that the chimpanzees and monkeys inside the cages will be fighting against each other, and they will be doing certain things which will be out of tune with their natural behavior. If you see a chimpanzee in the forest, they are absolutely peaceful. But their behavior becomes odd. They turn into mavericks when you put them in the cages and you house them in the zoological gardens. The reason was analyzed and they found out that these creatures, when kept in a small space, they become violent and their behavior gets totally changed. Similarly, the human beings also require a personal space, and if someone comes into the personal zone, their behavior automatically gets changed. That is why in most of the apartments you will find people feeling lonely, and when they become adults, they will be isolated, they will not be able to mix with others. When they become aged, they suffer either from dementia or Alzheimer's disease. So, the personal space is very, very important, and if you rob the personal space of an individual, he turns violent. That is why in most of the processions, you will find that at some point of time, they will turn violent. They turn violent because their personal territory is invaded by somebody else. That is why we insist when we give building licenses to the apartments that you should have an open space for every apartment. And invariably you will find that the elderly people will be seen in those open spaces in the evenings and they will be chatting with the others. When you come to the open space, you feel so good. You feel as though you have been liberated. You feel claustrophobic when you are in your apartment. The same situation occurs when you do not have proper infrastructure and when you are forced to study in a concrete jungle in a metropolitan city. Your behavior becomes violent. Parents do not know why their children have become violent, why they are resisting every advice that they give. In fact, I have the habit of meeting youngsters very often. Wherever I go, parents bring their children and they ask me to counsel them. When I meet the children, they ask all kinds of questions. One of the students asked me, what is the difference between advice and the guidance that you give? I went to his school and gave a lecture. So he told me, I am bored with all kinds of advices. My teachers advise me, and that is what they are paid for. My parents advise me. You came to our school to give a lecture, and we thought that you would talk something interesting, but you also started advising me. So we were all bored. So I told the boy, I am not advising. You are moving in a vehicle. Suddenly somebody comes in the opposite direction and says, you don't take this route because it is crowded. There is an accident. There is a traffic jam. There is a problem. There is a riot. Take some other route so that you can reach the destination. Do you consider this as an advice? It is not advice. It is just guidance. I am giving guidance and I am not giving advice because I have seen this world more than you. I have spent more years than you in this world, and I have suffered due to my failures, debacles and fiascos. So I have all the authority to tell you that don't do this. If you do this, you will suffer like me. So take some other route so that you can save your time and you can shine in your life, and this cannot be construed as advice. So after the talk was over, after the counseling was over, he came to me again and asked, then what do you mean by advice? My dear children, you should know what is the term advice actually means. Then I told him, advice simply means that a person preaches you without practicing, and that is advice. Many parents complain to me that the children are not obedient and they don't listen to them. In fact, your chairperson was telling me that I give exercises on listening. I will come to that separately, not in such a very big group. But one thing is very, very important, that the children today have got a lot of problems and the parents are not aware of those problems. The parents think that if they provide all the infrastructure, if you provide them an air conditioner, if you provide them a computer, if you provide them shoes, a good school, a good breakfast, the children are being taken care of. But unfortunately, they spend most of the time in a crowded place. And in that crowded place, they are bound to get tired and bored. In fact, their personal territory is not respected at all. Therefore, they develop a kind of tension and depression, and that depression comes in the form of their odd behavior. They are not in tune with the world, and that is responsible for their behavior. This has to be understood. I am saying this with only one thing in my mind. A school with such a vast space will certainly relieve the children from stress and tension, and definitely they will be at ease with their curriculum, and that is why your annual report has got so much of encomiums for the children. This is the main reason. Before I go into the merits of your annual report, both the annual reports, I would point out only two important observations that I made. Both the CBSE vice principal and the matriculation school vice principal, I think Sumati and Aisha, they made certain observations about the provision of the hostel facilities. They said that they have provided a completely air-conditioned, world-class hostel for their children. I am of the opinion that this would certainly do all the harm for the children. There cannot be a greater harm for the children than this. My dear young friends, if you do not develop endurance at this point of time, you can never be successful in your life. You should know what is hunger, what is sweat, what is heat, what is cold, and then only you will be able to appreciate them when you climb higher in your life, when you are provided with the facilities. The children who get their air-conditioned facility when they are in the school will take everything for granted. They will not be able to appreciate the air conditioner at all. In fact, when they do not have air conditioner, they will feel odd. When there is a power cut, they will feel miserable. But we were grown even without electricity when we were children. Electricity was a great luxury till we entered into our high school. We did not have fans in our schools. We had fans in our college. And we did not have even air conditioners in Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, because the entire place was air conditioned. Mussoorie is such a cool place that you don't go after air conditioners, you should go after heaters. So we were provided with heaters. Only when I became the additional collector, I had one air conditioner which will not work more